So Donald Trump, as usual, went on his Twitter account and started saying random things and tweeting in a way that's obviously off the cuff and is clearly not thought out or vetted through anybody in his administration. And, there was a time when I think people would say, and I wouldn't begrudge them this either. In fact, I thought it was a decent point at one time that, it's kind of refreshing that you have a president who's talking directly to the people and you could tell it's not on a teleprompter or thoroughly vetted or planned out and all that stuff. And there was this rawness to it, this feeling of, here we have a straight shooter. But the thing about Donald Trump is he appears to be a straight shooter, but he's actually just a massive bullshitter. And, that's what a good salesman is. Somebody who makes you feel like they're straight shooting when in reality they're just kind of painting the picture that they want you to see and nothing else. And Donald Trump, I went from thinking he was a mediocre con man to now thinking he's a superb con man because he was able to con his way all the way into the White House, even though he's clearly a charlatan and he has no clue what the fuck he's doing. Sometimes his tweets are just a little bit too... They just hit too close to home, and you really get a good sense of what's going on, which is we have a toddler in the White House. So first, let's take a look at one of the tweets he did on Russia. This is after there was a meeting with President Vladimir Putin. He said, "When will all the haters and fools out there realize that having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing? They're always playing politics," meaning the Democrats, and what he meant to say is they are. They're always playing politics. Bad for our country. I want to solve North Korea, Syria, Ukraine, terrorism, and Russia can greatly help. Now, I don't think that's as egregious a tweet as many other Democrats do, because, hey, that was my position under Obama. Obama used to say that. He said to Mitt Romney in a debate in 2012, the 1980s called they want their foreign policy back, when Mitt Romney said the number one threat to the U.S. was Russia. Obama was like, hey, idiot, there's this thing called Al-Qaeda that exists, and pretty sure that's a bigger threat than Russia is. The 1980s called they want their foreign policy back. So I don't think that's egregious, but you could see the wording of it is like childish. When will all the haters and fools out there? Haters and fools? What are you, in a rap battle, or are you the president of the United States? The haters and fools. People hate. I be stunting, and they hate on me. Like, no, you can't phrase it like that. And then furthermore, yes, it is a little bit naive also because he's talking about how, hey, the situation with North Korea, Syria, Ukraine, terrorism, Russia could help. But hold on, like in Ukraine, for example, why do you think they can help when the position of the U.S. government is the opposite of the position of the Russian government on Ukraine? Now, on some of those issues, they actually can help. I would argue that on Syria, our position should be the same as the Russian government's position, which is, look, the rebels are almost all jihadists at this point, so the choice is Assad or the jihadists. So what are you going to do? You're going to arm the jihadists, side with the jihadists, and then create a power vacuum by toppling Assad, and then what happens? Probably ISIS is going to fill the vacuum, and Syria is going to become, jihadistan. So on that issue, sure, you could say, hey, our priorities can more or less align on that one. But on Ukraine, no. I mean, Russia marched in and said, Crimea is now ours. And you could argue, hey, that was the catalyst for that was the fact that NATO kept creeping towards the Russian border when the U.S. promised back in the day that NATO would not creep towards the Russian border, and there was a pro-Western government that was put in Ukraine, and so Vladimir Putin was losing a key ally, so that was his retaliation for that. And you can get into all the details of the situation in Ukraine, but bottom line is, we do not 100% align on that issue, the U.S. government and the Russian government. So to say, like, oh, he could help us with all these issues. Well, no, on some of them, yes, and I'm good with having a good relationship with him. I don't want to be on the brink of war. But on other issues, no. So it's already kind of childish. But here's the one that, I mean, my jaw hit the fucking floor when I saw this tweet. Why would Kim Jong-un insult me by calling me old when I would never call him short and fat? Oh well, I try so hard to be his friend, and maybe someday that will happen. dude, what? What? The fuck did I just read? And then there's this tweet that I'm about to show you now. So there's an extension on Chrome that makes all of Donald Trump's tweets written in crayon. And people do it if they think, oh, hey, I'll do this because Trump already feels kind of like a toddler, so let's see what his tweets would look like if they were written in crayon. And somebody tweeted that out and said, whoa, this is bizarre. Because it feels so real that a toddler actually wrote it. Take a look at this. That's the same tweet written in crayon. And my God, if it doesn't seem like a tweet actually written by a toddler. Why would Kim Jong-un insult me by calling me old when I would never call him short and fat? Oh well, I try so hard to be his friend, and maybe someday that will happen. Listen, man. The most powerful man in the world is a fucking idiot. Is a fucking impulsive ass child. And that's nothing to scoff at. Listen, you guys know me, man. I hate making any argument that's not policy related when it comes to politics. Because at the end of the day, all that matters is policy. Because that's what's going to affect your life directly. And all too often we see politicians sometimes never bring up policy arguments, and they just focus on whatever the outrage of the day is. I was going to say outrage du jour is. But this is one of those issues where, yes, even I'm willing to make this non-policy argument. Because there are fucking consequences to having the person who is the most powerful person in the world be this dim. I mean, that's like scary. Ugh. 2020 can't come fast enough. Can't come fast enough. And the Democrats at this point should be thanking their lucky stars, man. Because, you know, they might even get away with being perpetually mediocre when this is the other option. Again, at the beginning, when Trump ran the first time, obviously, and all this stuff seemed kind of novel. It seemed kind of like, oh, different. You know, everybody's so establishment and so status quo and the same and cut from the same political cloth. I mean, Hillary Clinton just reeks of, I will change nothing. So he came along, people went, okay, roll the dice, let's see what happens. But with Trump, you're getting the worst of both worlds now. Because you're getting somebody who, yes, on the policy, is doing pretty much everything the establishment wants. For fuck's sake, he has multiple Goldman Sachs people in his administration. Gary Cohn, Steve Mnuchin. I mean, the president of Goldman Sachs is fucking writing Trump's tax plan and proposing it. So he's doing everything the establishment wants. But then on top of that, there's the added little twist of, while I'm a bitch boy to big money and the powerful and multinational corporations, at the same time, I'm going to give you this incredible feeling of instability. Because at any moment, I could, you know, launch a fucking offensive attack against North Korea, or now the new one is Iran and Lebanon. They're really escalating with Iran and Lebanon and trying to blame Iran for things in Yemen that they shouldn't be blamed for, to say like, hey man, and now there's articles out that are trying to link Iran and Al-Qaeda. Preposterous on its face, because Iran is Shia and Al-Qaeda's fundamentalist Sunni, Salafi, Wahhabi. So it's the worst of both worlds. And I told you guys, because you guys have asked me, hey, what's the issue that keeps you up at night? Well, there's a lot, like long-term issues that should keep you up at night, whether it's climate change, money in politics, which is just totally, you know, rotted our system from the inside out. But the most pressing one is probably North Korea. Because it's clear that it's just an unserious man baby on our side and an unserious man baby on their side. and it's just a fucking chest puffing contest, a dick swinging contest, and there's so many lives at stake, and so much terrible shit can happen. Just because it hasn't happened yet, people are lulled into this false sense of security. Like, oh yeah, well, it hasn't happened yet. That should be no comfort at all, because we know what human beings are capable of. I mean, look at World War I and World War II. Look at what we did in Iraq. Destroyed, decimated a country. That led to the rise of ISIS. And Idiot 1 and Idiot 2 were puffing their chest out on North Korea. And Guam, look out. South Korea, look out. People in Pyongyang, look out. Because at any second, this stuff can pop off.